Hey everyone, my name is Roseshards, but feel free to call me Rosie, Rose, Chloe, or honestly whatever you want. You guys voted, and the majority of you guys said that you would like it if I were to post speed paints a few times a month, and so, I'm also really looking forward to making a ton of new speed paints because not only would it help me be a bit more active when I'm working on other bigger projects, but I think making full pieces more regularly can also really help me improve at art, and help me learn Photoshop a lot more. This is actually my second time using Photoshop to make a piece in my regular style outside of school, so I guess this could be considered more experimental. I decided to whip this up in a little over an hour because I really felt like I needed a new icon. There was just something about Rosie's face and body in the old one and it was really bugging me, so given the season, I figured I would draw Rosie looking up at some snowflakes. I had a ton of fun while drawing this because, as I stated earlier, I was experimenting a lot with what works for me in Photoshop and what doesn't, and so I found out that I actually really love creating a little gradient effect by copying and pasting the first shading layer and then using the blur filter on it. But honestly, I might only love that at the moment because Sai had no filters at all, so blurring something like that just wasn't really an option for me. Anyways, I'll tell you guys a little more about my thoughts and process behind the piece a little later, so I don't just like talk all throughout the beginning of the video, so you can just listen to some music for now, I guess. I've been trying to experiment a lot more with different styles and angles, and lately I have just loved drawing animals looking up. I don't know why, it just calls to me at the moment. I think that Rosie ultimately turned out pretty well, especially given the fact that I was using a program I'm honestly super unfamiliar with. Something that did frustrate me was not being able to do my usual shading style, which is a mixture of cell and soft shading on like the same layer. I think it turned out pretty alright for something that only had cell shading, but I really do miss how nice the blur tool on Sai was. I'm not sure if I can adjust the blur settings on Photoshop. Like, if I can, please let me know. But yeah, I considered putting the Photoshop file into Paint Tool size so I could edit a bit of it and like blur some of the shading lines, but the colors weren't the same, so I just left it. I guess it was nice to get out of my comfort zone, however, it makes something that I'm not really used to, so on one hand that was nice. I think that all of the layering I did with the shading and lighting really helped strengthen the piece and make it fit into the background, which is also good. Background was also super fun because I got to try out a lot of Photoshop's layer filters. It really helped with the depth of field obviously, and I just really ended up loving the result, especially because it's super easy to transform the quick little trees I made into something that really fits with the rest of the picture, like something that looks like it actually belongs there instead of just being like a line with other lines coming off of it. And I initially struggled with the colors I wanted to use for the background, and ultimately settled for this more tealish blue, which I thought was cute because it fit with Rosie's eyes, ears, and nose. The snowflakes were also really fun because I got to try out some of the motion blur options, which was amazing. I honestly cannot wait until I get to make a more detailed piece in Photoshop, and I just get to use a ton of cool layer filters, mainly because it is something I just never got to experience with the Psy. I don't really have anything else I would like to say about the art, and I feel like I've kind of like gone on about it enough, so I figured I would tell you guys a little bit about Rosie. So, several years ago, I had this super cringy, edgy cat mascot who I would rather not name because I don't want you guys to go dig her up and find her. But anyways, I finally figured it was time to get rid of her about, 3 years ago this December. And I'd just been thinking about designing a new main character for a little bit and wanted to make her some sort of chocolate and vanilla inspired Himalayan cat. And honestly, the idea was pretty cute, so I may create the character one day, but for some reason it just wasn't really clicking with me. I wanted to have this new design done for January 1st, and only at the very last minute decided to create Rosie the way she is. I have no idea how I decided on her design, but I do remember really starting to like pink back then, so I guess that's why she's so pink. I remember she was still sort of inspired by like the original Himalayan or Siamese character that I wanted to create, hence the white face. and her little stripes are inspired by a skeleton for some reason, I'm pretty sure. I don't know where that element came in, but it works, so it's all good with me. I wanted to make her really feminine and pretty as well, but I wanted her to wear a traditionally male accessory, the bow tie, and I wanted her to act like a total tomboy. I'm not sure, but I think this was supposed to be inspired by how people used to think I was pretty and would assume I was a girly girl or something because of this, but in reality I was always a huge tomboy. And I don't know, I was 13 when I made her. I'm just assuming that element was like some of the thought process behind her design, but just based on some stuff that I wrote about her back then, but I don't know. I then added in some teals for contrast, and I'm ultimately still really satisfied with her design. She means a whole lot to me, and I don't think I'll be replacing her anytime soon. I really love having her represent my channel, and she's been with me through quite a lot during these past 3 years. Anyways, that's gonna be the end of the video. I know I really didn't talk as much as I did in my last one. I thought I would try out something new, plus I didn't really have a lot to say about this piece. It was pretty simplistic. It was just a really basic idea, but I really hope you guys really enjoyed seeing some of my process and hearing about some of my thoughts, and I also do hope you guys found it somewhat entertaining to hear about Rosie's origins and inspirations and stuff. Again, I'm really trying to incorporate Speedpaint into my channel a lot more, but considering I'm a very, very uncreative person, feel free to leave some basic suggestions down below, and I might see what I can turn them into. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and happy holidays!